So we are live.
We are live.
Episode 3. We got a special guest. I can't talk tonight, but my uncle is joining us today. And if you want to introduce yourself, you can.
I am Brent Lax, and Jared's my nephew. Eric is my brother. Ready to rock and roll, guys.
All right. Rundown, Dad.
This is our first time with the guests, so bear with us, folks. All my points will be right, and then every point that I have wrong makes Kentucky football a bye week.
And they do have a bye week this weekend, by the way.
So the rundown for today from our producer Jeremiah is starting with NASCAR and their post Bristol breakdown. They have now dwindled from 16 to 12.
16 to 12.
So we'll talk about that for a little bit, and then we will talk about, make sure I got my right notes here. Then we'll talk about the NFL, where my fantasy team is 2-0, including a win over
That says
Jeremiah
my
in week
team's
1.
Buns.
Hey, what was the
And then
score
we'll
in that?
close. Oh, it was not good. I don't have it in front of me, but it was not
bad.
good.
I started
Well,
Jamar.
the problem is
My entire team
I
underperformed.
own Jeremiah in the regular season, but then when it comes time for playoffs, like last year, Jamar Gibbs single-handedly beat me.
Jamar
And
Gibbs.
guess
Who's Jamar
or
Gibbs?
Jamar Gibbs, sorry. What's his first name?
Jameer.
Sorry.
Jameer Gibbs.
Jameer Gibbs, who he got from me in a trade,
He cheated.
beat me in the playoffs in the championship game. He knew it was
I
coming.
waited for Saquon and Jamar to have a bad week, and I told him, "Hey, I'll take them off your hands." And then he traded me Jameer, and Saquon last
He
year,
took Jameer from me
and
and played
then
me.
they went off.
He
the rest
played
of
me,
the year.
man. He played
He
me.
sure did.
So then we'll close with college football.
Yeah.
So are we ready?
You want me to start
ready,
with
baby?
NASCAR?
You can if you want to.
Okay, so last time we talked about NASCAR was last week. We talked about how they just came off the Worldwide Trade Center and how the round of 16 we gave the 4 that we thought were going to get eliminated from the round of 16, and we were correct. And another point out was Joe Gibbs Racing, 3 of their 4 drivers have won the last 3 races, with Christopher Bell winning the other night in Bristol. Right now, the 8 drivers that are above the cutoff line, so as of right now, they will be going on to the round of 8 to race in Las Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville, I believe. Denny Hamlin is first. He is 26 points above the cutoff line. William Byron second. He is 24 points above the cutoff line. Kyle Larson, he is 24 points above the cutoff line as well. Christopher Bell is fourth. He is 20 points above the cutoff line. That sounds like a championship 4 we had a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
It does.
And then Ryan Blaney is 19 points above the cutoff line. Chase Briscoe is 10. Chase Elliott 5 by a miracle. And then Bubba Wallace is 1 point above the cutoff line.
We will take it as Chase fans will.
And then the 4 below the cutoff line, so they might be eliminated in the past 4 weeks, even though I do see this probably changing a little bit. Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, and Tyler Reddick, they are all 1, 2, 3 points below the cutoff line in that order.
Yeah, we talked last week about how Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing, yes, that is the Joe Gibbs, the same one who coached the Redskins in the early 90s. So he is used to winning. He is multiple championships. Drivers like Bobby Labonte, Kyle Busch, a lot of guys have driven for him. They swept the first round of the playoffs, which is not easy. 3 totally different tracks, Worldwide Technology being the second one, starting with Darlington and ending in Bristol at the night race. And to be able to sweep the first round has to give them a ton of momentum going into the second round with, again, Briscoe winning at Darlington, Hamlin winning in St. Louis, and Seabell at Bristol. But if you ask me, for those who were able to watch the race, Goodyear is the tire sponsor for NASCAR. So they run the Goodyear Eagles on this new car. Goodyear's been their sponsor for a while, and what the fans wanted, what the teams wanted, what the industry wanted was to get back to late 80s, 1990s Bristol, which is there's not essentially two, racing lanes. There's one. You get on the bottom, and the only way you can pass somebody is what's called the old bump and run, made famous by Dale Earnhardt when he's behind Terry Labonte and he moves him out of line and wrecks Terry. And Earnhardt infamously says, "I didn't mean to wreck him. I just meant to rattle his cage a little bit." So they put some compound around the bottom lane that the cars could put their left front in and kind of hook the corner. But then they brought this tire that was much, much softer than what they were used to. But that presented a couple of
very well decorated.
yeah. So they were literally bringing out the sweepers in the race to sweep up the rubber that was coming off the tires of these cars and just going up against the wall. So that had a couple unintended consequences. Let me say this first. I think that NASCAR is on the right track. I appreciate their efforts in trying to bring a softer tire and trying to get back to old school Bristol. You can say what you want about manipulating things, but nobody wants to watch cars not be able to pass, follow each other. There only be one lane of racing. You watch a half-mile conveyor belt for 500 laps. Nobody wants that. So give NASCAR, Goodyear, the industry credit for trying. They missed it a little bit, but they missed it because they were trying. These tires were way too soft, so they were just coming apart.
I saw a video where they couldn't go like 50 laps without one set of tires, which is not normal at Bristol.
No, normally they can get quite a few more laps than that. Drivers on Saturday night, because it's the Bristol night race, they could only go about 40, maybe 50 laps before the tires were shredded. They were flat spotted, they were corded, they were blistered, and they were done. So the drivers were trying to compensate by essentially slowing down. So drivers, when they came out with brand new tires, Bristol's only a half-mile track surrounded by 160,000 seats. If you've never been to Bristol, go. It's an amazing place. Take earplugs with you.
Where are your earplugs?
Because I know somebody on this call who didn't do that, and his hearing's never been the same. But it literally sounds like a jet. It sounds like a jet landing for 4 hours. It's one of the coolest places on earth. So another issue, so drivers were literally they would run instead of a 16-second lap, a 17-second lap. So they had to slow down to protect and preserve the tires. Another, I guess, factor you can say is the temperature in Bristol was unseasonably cool. And what that means is Bristol's pavement is concrete. Okay, it's not asphalt, it's concrete. And what ideally happens is as these cars ride around the track, you can literally see the color of the track change as the track does what's called rubber is laid down in the track. That didn't happen because the temperatures were so cold. You can literally watch a normal Bristol race and watch that color of the pavement go from a really, really bright gray to a darker gray, if not black. That means the track is taking rubber, which helps with a ton of things. It helps you preserve your tires. And because the weather was cool and the concrete was not accepting that rubber, the rubber was not laying into the grooves of this concrete track. So when it's not doing so, imagine your bare feet, right? It's just acting like a cheese grater instead of that track rubbering up, as it's called. So NASCAR and Goodyear actually got together during the race, and they provided an extra set of 4 tires for each of the teams because they had, I think, 10 sets plus the one they qualified on in a 500-lap race. If you have an incident or you flat spot your tire, you're done. So credit NASCAR and Goodyear for doing that. As I mentioned earlier, great start. I think the trajectory of this is really good. I think the intention's great, and I think with just a little bit of tweaking here and there, I think this is going to go a long way to get Bristol a little more competitive, a little more, if it needs to be, but a little better passing, not just watching conveyor belt of cars going on. I think it's going to be better for the racing. And now I'm not just saying that. Guys like Dale Jarrett on the call were saying it. Steve Letarte, crew chief for Gordon at one point in time, for Dale Jr., he was saying it. The mayor, Jeff Burton, was saying it. So these guys say we're on the right direction, we're on the right trajectory, but they just kind of missed it a little bit. That's kind of the big story, if you ask me. Let me hurry. 4 drivers had their championship aspirations end after Bristol, and these are actually the 4 that Jeremiah and I called last week. They were, and let me just back up. Remember the playoff format. So you have 26 races to either win a race or get in by points. If you win a race, you're automatically in, and then they fill the rest of the playoff positions by points. So you get in the playoffs. It's a 10-race playoff. We've now went through the first round, or 3 races. 4 drivers go home. Now we're in the round of 12. 3 more races. 4 drivers will go home. 8. So on and so forth until you get to Phoenix in November, where there's only 4 drivers left, and the first of those 4 drivers in the championship 4 to cross the finish line is your champion. They don't necessarily have to win the race, but historically they've had to win the race to win the championship. So Alex Bowman went home. Jeremiah, do you think Alex Bowman going home, again, remember, he is the other Yankees, Celtics, Dodgers, 96 Bulls, Steph Curry Warriors. I mean, that's what Hendrick is. And there's 4 drivers for Hendrick. All of them made the playoffs. 3 of them are moving on. Alex Bowman is not. So, Brent, how do you think it is in that drivers' meeting when the 3 of your teammates are moving on and you're like, hi? Right?
Probably a little embarrassing.
A little embarrassing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, don't know a lot about NASCAR. That's obvious. But what about my boy Ty Gibbs? When is he gonna make that push? Like, when is he gonna get there?
I can see him doing that
right?
push.
Very
Yeah.
close. Made the playoffs last year.
I can see him probably doing a bit of a push last year because last night in the race, Ty Gibbs actually dominated the race. And let me look here real quick. He finished 10th, but led 201 of the 500 laps last night. And a little bit closer to the end of the year, in about June and July, Ty Gibbs was looking like a really solid driver. He was getting constant top 10s. I think he was getting constant top 10s, top 15s, won the in-season challenge this year. So I could see Ty Gibbs maybe being a name to look out for next year, with how he's finishing off this season.
Yeah, last night, Brent, to your point, Ty Gibbs has got to get better at closing the race. He was right there at the very end. He was behind his teammate Briscoe and needed to pit and just pooped the bed. Came in way too hot, slid his tires half the length of the front stretch, because at Bristol you have to pit a certain way under green and a certain way under yellow. So literally flat spotted his tires, which were already an issue, missed pit road. So now you've got a flat, and you have to hope that thing doesn't come apart and destroy your fender. So here you are in contention late in the race, where you have to stay on the lead lap because laps click off so fast. And he blew a late race pit stop by just missing pit road. I mean, you're literally right behind Chase Briscoe. All you have to do is follow him to pit road, and you're there. You're in contention. I think he's 115 races in without a win. That's not completely uncommon, so people don't need to panic. He's going to be fine. People also need to remember how young he is.
That was my next question.
He's extremely young. And people also have to remember, he won an Xfinity championship 2 or 3 years ago.
23 years.
He's only 23 years old. So people also need to remember, when he won that Xfinity championship a few years ago, he lost his dad like that same day. So I just think be patient. When is he going to press through? I think anytime. The way it typically works in NASCAR is you have to start getting top 15s and then top 10s and then top 5s.
That's what he did this year.
And when you start getting those top 5s and start getting those things, that's when that win comes through. But he's been there a couple times, but he's got to alleviate those self-inflicted wounds.
So that comes from inexperience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. They said something on the broadcast last night, in addition to an experience that I didn't think about. They said he's trying too hard. So it may be an experience, but he's in his third full year in Cup and arguably the greatest equipment he can get. And I just think he feels that pressure too. And I think in addition to, yeah, he doesn't have the experience, he's getting more experience. But I just think he's pressing so hard. You make pit stops all the time. He's great at Bristol traditionally, and just overcooked it, you know. And now you're having to limp the car around the track so you don't do further damage. So I think it's a combination of inexperience and just trying way too hard. You know, I think it's the same thing we just talked about with Alex Bowman. Bowman's the only Hendrick driver not in the championship hunt anymore.
So you
You
think
know,
it's he's trying to show everybody he deserves that car, not just because he's in it because he's the grandson.
I think so. I think another thing that, and I don't mean to be taking all this, but NASCAR is my jam.
Yeah, definitely.
There are also guys behind him in the Toyota pipeline who are crushing it. Let me mention Corey Heim. You know, I know your last name is Gibbs, but that doesn't guarantee anything, right? I know it's the same last name as your grandfather, who
It's the
the
same way
great
as
Joe
Austin
Gibbs.
Cindric.
But there are some. Corey Heim is coming back quickly. He's in the Cup Series Truck Series right now, and I think it was his first race at Bristol this past Saturday, and he finished top 10. So not only that, you have drivers
Also,
behind you that are hungry.
also on Corey Heim, this was like his fourth or fifth Cup race this year, and earlier this year when he raced at Kansas, I believe he got a top 15.
Yeah, and I think it was his first race ever at Bristol, which is a crazy place to race, and just did it. So I think it's a combination of inexperience, trying too hard, but then also, you know, that there's some guys behind him that are hungry and are coming up.
Yeah, and that pressure can either make you great or make you a little nervous and put the pressure on you. So
Well, Joey Logano, a three-time Cup champion, you know, there's two ways to look at pressure. Like you just said, which is completely right, Brent. Or you can have like the Mamba mentality, you know, where pressure is a privilege. And if you have that, you know, disposition where pressure makes you fold, then these are the kind of things you see happen. But if you see pressure as a privilege, then you're going to start putting some trophies in your case.
yeah.
So again, moving on, the round of 12, Bell won 3 races back to back to back earlier in the year. Just won last week. Last year, if I remember correctly, he swept New Hampshire, which means he won both races there. That's where they're going next. So he is the odds-on favorite to win in New Hampshire.
One thing on Christopher Bell, it's like a question for you if you're in Christopher's shoes. Last week at Worldwide, you finished 7th with the best car, and as a lot of people probably know, and what Bleacher Report Racing posted, he went on a good 12-second cuss-out rant to the entire
delete
team.
button got a workout.
And then the very next week, you win the race. So going into the round of 12 and deeper into the playoffs, if you were Christopher, are you trusting your team probably more than you ever have this season after finishing 7th and then going on that ramp, but then winning?
I am, because I don't know what other choice you have. And I mean, how many people are going to fuss about 7th? I get it. He had the best car last week, too. No doubt about it. Finished, I think, 7th last
7th.
week. But maybe to answer your question like this, I think that's the one thing that's missing from C-Bell. If you ever get a chance, go Google C-Bell. He's like a baby face. But I think in order for him to take that next step, I think he has to be that guy. I think he has to be the guy that holds his team. Because if you're in NASCAR, let's make an analogy here. The driver is the quarterback. He's the guy everybody sees. He's the guy that's on the posters. He's the guy that gets the T-shirts. He's the guy driving the car. He's the one doing the interview. Not that he's more or less important. NASCAR is a team sport, but he's the quarterback. He's the face. And I think that kind of shocked his team, because he's not really been that guy. He's been kind of passive-aggressive, C-Bell. But I think seeing that fire in him let his team know, like, where he stands, and this dude's no joke, and he's not going to take it.
Well, because before that, it's rare for Christopher to go on those type of rants. And if he does, it's maybe 2 to 3 cuss words max, not like what he did last week.
Yeah, he was mad. But sometimes you just need something to shake it up. And he shook it up, and the results are there. And if I'm the rest of the field, I'm terrified, especially going into New Hampshire, because he's really, really good there. Again, won both races there last year. Has a knack for that place. New Hampshire's a really flat racetrack, so it's a driver's track. He's got a dirt background, so he can wheel the car around different different lanes and doesn't necessarily need the banking. So,
So you're saying he could be like basically the next Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch for JGR?
I think so. I think he's definitely the future. I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but he's every year, every other year. I don't know how many championship fours he's been in,
He's
but
been
he's
in 2 of the last 4.
2 of the last 4. I mean, he's racing for championships at least every other year in the past couple of years. So I don't know if he's up and coming. I think he's here. I think he's a bona fide star in Cup. But New Hampshire on to Kansas. Kansas is a really, really fun 1.5-mile track.
Look out for Larson there.
Larson's great there. Bubba Wallace, really, really good there.
That's where he got his last win before Indy.
And Kansas might be the best. 1.5 miles with this new car is great, but Kansas might be the best of the best. You have some of the closest finishes in NASCAR history at Kansas. Kansas is a really, really fun track. And then the last race in the round of 12, the cutoff race, is the Charlotte Roval. And if you've never heard the term Roval before, that's because they take Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is literally 1.5 miles, D-shaped cookie cutter racetrack, and they run the infield road course as well as the oval with a couple of chicanes. So it is literally half road course, half oval. So that's where they go for the cutoff race, and that race every year it doesn't disappoint, because you have guys that are desperate and they'll do anything. So that's where we stand. Who's home now? Bowman, the 48. The rest of these 3, with all due respect,
Josh Berry.
Yeah, the rest of the 3, we're not really surprised, but you get so Bowman's done, Dillon's done, Shane Van Gisbergen's done. But poor Josh Berry. Josh Berry drives the 21 Ford for the historic Wood Brothers team. He had 3 DNFs. All 3. Like, his car caught on fire in Bristol.
Also at Bristol?
At Bristol, for sure. They had to pull him out of the car because, of smoke inhalation. So he's probably glad, in a way, that this is over and he can just go race, Because that's another thing, when we talked about this last week, is this is not like any other playoff where it goes from 16 teams to 8 teams to 4 teams to 2 teams to a champion. Even at the championship race, there are 38 cars total on the track. So there can be a car who is not even in the playoffs anymore, who has been eliminated from championship contention, and they're on the track with you. Ideally, they'll show you respect. But what do you do, Brent, if you're Ty Gibbs, looking for that first win, and you're running second, the guy in front of you is running for a championship? Here's the deal. You still have to race for your team. You still have to race for your sponsorship. You still have to race for your OEM. And that's when things get really interesting. What happens if that championship guy didn't cut you a break earlier and you see your chance to get even? That's the beauty of this sport, is all the players, all the teams are still on the field to the bitter end.
Is that everything for NASCAR?
I think that's everything.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you guys a question. Maybe you talked about it last week and I missed it. And if you did, I'm sorry. Who, in your guys' opinion, who wins the championship this year? Did you already cover that?
We did not cover that. Okay, so let's look. The 12 who are still eligible.
Yeah.
Or in championship contention.
Right.
Ryan Blaney's always great in the playoff.
Yeah. Hamlin, Byron, Larson, Bell, Blaney, Briscoe, Elliott, Wallace, Hendrick, Logano, Chastain, and Reddick.
Do you know?
I think. Go ahead.
So, who I want out of those, I really want Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
I would love to see him win it.
Yep. He won in 2021.
With probably the best season of all time.
Won like 10 races.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. We've actually got to meet Kyle Larson. He's a good dude. He's just a legit good person. When you talk to him, he's just like he knows you. It takes an interest in you. But I think, Brent, Jeremiah, I think this is the greatest top 12 maybe ever. Because you can legitimately, I'm talking legitimately, make a case for any of those guys. Reddick, well, I'll start at the back and work up. Reddick, Chastain, and Logano. Reddick has been in the championship 4. Chastain has been in the championship 4 with the Martinsville Miracle, the Hell Melon. Logano has 3 championships, and they're below the cut, right? Bubba Wallace won the Brickyard 400 this year.
Mm-hmm.
The crown jewel of crown jewels, perhaps. Chase Elliott, former champion. Briscoe, champion in the series underneath, and is racing like crazy, qualifying up front. Probably the hottest driver. I have my answer, Brent. Probably the hottest driver in Cup. Ryan Blaney, former champion. We've already talked about Seabell. Larson, former champion, perhaps the greatest driver on the planet because he can drive anything. William Byron, been in the championship 4. Hamlin, been in the championship 4 multiple times. Hamlin, without fail, is the greatest driver to never win a championship. If I'm Denny Hamlin and I win one this year, that's my last race ever. I'm walking away. Because he also owns 2311. I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting out. My pick is Chase Briscoe. The 19. My pick is Chase Briscoe. It's Martin Truex Jr.'s old team with James Small crew chiefing. I think here's what the playoffs are. Playoffs are all about who has the momentum and win. I know you can say that about a lot of sports, but that's so true about this sport. And I will say this too. Do not count any of the Penske cars out. The Penske cars are the 12 of Blaney, the 2 of Cindric, and the 22 of Joey Logano. That team, I don't know what they do, and if they do know, they wouldn't tell you. But those guys have a knack for rising at the right time. They have a knack for it. But I know it's a long answer, but my pick is Briscoe, just based on what I'm seeing right now. Brent, what do you think, Jer?
Yeah, I might agree with you with Briscoe. And then like Uncle B said, I will also keep my eye on Larson. And then a sleeper, for me, it depends on how he does at the Roval. But Bubba Wallace, he's not strong at road courses. I watched that documentary about him on Netflix. That if they have a road course coming up, he is on the sim for hours. The only time he leaves the simulator is to go to the bathroom, if his wife or son needs him, or to go eat. Other than that, he is on the racing simulator, just doing hours of laps at the road course. And he's been racing really well. He got a stage win in these playoffs, and he has also been having a lot of momentum. He's one of those guys, like, if he doesn't win for a while, he loses confidence. That's what they said in the documentary about him. And I said if he wins Indianapolis, because he qualified second there, if he wins Indianapolis, Bubba Wallace is going to make the playoffs and probably have a deep run because he's got that confidence back.
Yeah, and traditionally, guys, you look at the championship 12, this round in particular, and you look at a guy who you're like, you know what, that guy probably shouldn't be there. They luck into a win by strategy
All these guys should be in there.
Something, but you cannot look at this list and be like, that dude's the weakest. And that's great for us as fans, right? That's great for us as fans. So to recap, Brent Scott Larson. Who's your number one guy? You mentioned a couple of dark horses.
My number one is Chase Briscoe.
Briscoe, yeah. Moving on to New Hampshire. Off we go. Any other questions? Anything else before we transition to the NFL?
No, I'm ready.
Brent is also like our podcast connoisseur. He watches podcasts, listens to them, so he's also like our savant.
I love podcasts.
For podcasts. So Brent, don't let us be terrible.
You love me.
So moving on to the NFL, this is definitely going to be Jeremiah's segment for sure.
Absolutely.
And Brent with a close second. So we're gonna talk about a couple things, but I just want to reiterate that I destroyed Jeremiah in week 1 of fantasy. Even though he's my son, I take no prisoners when it comes to fantasy. So
what happened in the championship the past 2 years?
That doesn't matter right
what
now.
What happened in the championship?
Hey, it's a new season.
It is. Gibbs happened in the, even though I can't pronounce his first name, Gibbs happened in the championship last year. So I don't know who wants to take this one, but I'll kind of play, I guess, host for a minute and ask the questions, kind of like Brent did in the first segment. What a terrible week to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, so a ton of injuries. You mind if I borrow this real quick?
Yes, you can borrow my research.
Anyways, a ton of quarterbacks have gone down. Probably the biggest name on here being Joe Burrow for the Bengals. He went down with turf toe and is out for the next 3 months. JJ McCarthy tweaked his ankle in probably the worst game for a quarterback to ever have. He's out for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Then Jaden Daniels, he sprained his knee as well against the Packers last Thursday. He's doubtful for the next year. Then Justin Fields has a concussion at the moment. So it didn't look good. The Bengals beat the Jaguars. Bengals beat the Jaguars 31-27. Giants and Cowboys played keep away with a W, but the Cowboys ultimately lost that.
What is
The
up,
Lions.
Cowboys?
That is
What
the
is
game
up,
that nobody wanted to
Cowboys?
win. Did you see that game?
I seen the end of it, and I'm like, what are we doing?
Does anybody want to win this game?
Oh,
And then the Lions came back, turned back into their old ways, and then still beat the Bears. Titans, they lost to the Rams. Cam Warren still had a really good game. The Patriots beat the Dolphins. 49ers beat the Saints. Bills beat the Jets. Seahawks played the Steelers. I have a Steelers friend from North Dakota. He said that was a hard game to watch if you're a Steelers fan. So apparently they punted it. No, they didn't punt it. It was a kickoff, and the guy didn't catch the ball. And because it made contact with him, the ball was live, and it landed in the end zone. And the Seahawks were able to just get in there, lay on the ball, and it was a touchdown. Ravens destroy the Browns. Please use Derrick Henry next time for fantasy purposes. And then the Colts, Indiana Jones beat the Broncos. Daniel Jones has been playing really well. He has MVP conversations. Never thought I'd put that in the same sentence ever. The Cardinals beat the Panthers. The Chiefs are 0-2. Thank you, Jesus, for a great NFL start.
what was wrong with
Of the
Patty?
0-2
What was wrong
team.
with Patty yesterday?
He doesn't have any targets.
Receivers.
He has no receivers.
He has them. He just
Dad,
couldn't
you might
throw
want
the
to
ball
cover
to
your
him.
ears or take out the headphones for
Right.
this one. But the Vikings get destroyed by the Falcons with J.J. McCarthy somehow leading in passing yards, but he played as a Falcons player that day.
All right, boys. Here is Patrick Mahomes' line. You ready for this? 16 of 29, 187 yards, 6.4 average, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 2 sacks, for a rating of QBR of 79.3. Guys, is that good?
That's my point.
Right.
What was wrong with Patty?
Better
Terrible.
than 78.
Now, granted, they did play the Eagles, but still, you're Patrick Mahomes. Come on. You know what game?
Well, his number one target is a 34-year-old tight end. He's not going to do much with that.
Well, he is a future Hall of Famer.
That is true.
The game I want to talk about, if you guys
Do it.
want to, is I know
Do it,
you
yeah.
guys are happy about them Lions. What do you think the Bears head coach right now is thinking? Probably should have stayed in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think coming in, he's like, I know them. I know their schemes. I know what Dan Campbell's going to do. I know their personnel. I know their personnel lineup. I know all that. And Brent, I'm so glad you said that because I wrote this down. I said Detroit looked like we thought Detroit would look. So now, as we're going to week 3, we're going to see was the game in Lambeau like a week 1 off deal? You know,
real quick, it's
or-
hot in here.
Or is this who the Lions really, really are? Does that make sense?
I think you have to give
Like, are they the
Green
team?
Bay.
But yeah, I think so. But we're gonna, again, Green Bay is not Chicago. Chicago's not Green Bay. But they destroyed Ben Johnson and the Bears, 52-21.
Yeah, they hung.
And that last touchdown by Chicago that gave them the 21 points was aided by a couple penalties that got them down there. Again, some penalties led to that last 7-point late, but yeah, the Lions look good. So yeah, I just think I know we talked about the loss of Green Bay being whatever, but I just think in the next week or two we're really going to see who these guys are. And again, they went into Lambeau having to replace both offensive and defensive coordinators. Not an easy thing to do. Green Bay is good. Lambeau is a hard place to play. Not a great opening, not an easy opening for the Lions. But we've seen the Lions choke in big moments, haven't we? Can I take you back to that Washington playoff game last year? We've seen them choke in big games. That's what they need to do to take that next step.
Yeah. And then jumping to the Giants Cowboys game, the apparently a Giants player thought he was a Cowboys player because he had 4 penalties in one drive. One where he smacked the mess out of a edge rusher. Another one that 2 false starts, and then the other one was unnecessary roughness, which of course gave the Cowboys a ton of, well, not good for the Giants offense because they kept getting pushed back, but it was not a good drive for him.
Yeah, I have this down for that game. That was a crazy game. You know, Dallas's kicker, Aubrey had to hit a 64-yard field goal just to get it to overtime. And Dallas wins a game that I said this earlier. Now the team really wanted to win or lose 40-37. So, Brent, what's your take on that game? Was that just two teams that aren't great? Is that early year? Is that who these teams are? I'll just say it how I think, and this might be mean. Is that just a really good NFL game because it's between two bad teams? What do you think about that game?
It's two terrible teams. Why would you trade Micah Parsons? Right? Parsons. Pay him the money.
Mm-hmm.
He's a generational guy. Why would you send him to Green Bay? And they're just not good. I mean, you go back to week 1. How many passes did CeeDee Lamb drop?
Yeah,
They're just not good.
Agree. So maybe the game for the basement right there of their division. I also want to bring another game to you guys' attention. The Broncos gifting the Colts a win on a late penalty. The ESPN reads it like this: the Colts stun the Broncos after a penalty, gives Indianapolis a second chance. Spencer Schrader apparently missed his initial kick, but the Broncos were called for a personal foul.
I saw that. He got on top of the long snapper, which you can do.
Giving the Colts a second chance, which was converted for a game-winning field goal. If you're the Broncos, what are your thoughts?
You beat yourself.
What are we doing?
You beat yourself.
That's it.
Here's a crazy thing, and we'll talk about this later when we talk about like surprises, good and bad and ugly. Colts are 2-0. Right?
Daniel Jones
the Colts are 2-0.
Have you seen how Daniel Jones has been playing?
Yeah.
He's right now number 2 quarterback in fantasy. The only one ahead of him is Lamar Jackson.
It's sour in my stomach.
Never thought I'd say that in my life.
Yeah, penalties.
Big thing for a lot of games this week.
Any thoughts on that game? How are the Colts feeling? If you're the Colts, 2-0, some may say the penalty got you there. Probably shouldn't have won that game. If you're the Colts staff and team and in that locker room, how do you think they should be feeling?
I think it's just like any sport. I think you take the win. A win is a win. You're 2-0. It doesn't matter how you got it. You thank the good Lord above. You keep working, right? You keep moving forward, getting ready for the next game. So I think they should just be happy and just keep surviving. A win is a win no matter how you get it. Whether the other team made the mistake, okay, you were able to capitalize on it. So good for them.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't have this down, but another quarterback that went down this week was Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy went down.
Love Brock.
So Mac Jones had to come in, balled out, was 26 of 39, 3 touchdowns, 279 yards.
Well, they also
through
did
the
play
air.
the Saints, and the Saints are terrible.
Took the words out of my mouth. But again, a dub is a dub, especially in this league. Just going through the games. Again, if you guys want to talk about one or something surprises you, Brent, we talked about like our first week we did this show. We kind of talked about some teams that are under the radar. Not saying they're going to make the postseason or turn it around. We're not trying to be naive here. We want to offer substance. But the Patriots now, with is it Coach Vrabel, who was in Tennessee, I think you need to watch out for those boys. He's coming home,
1 right now,
and they're 1-1 right. So they beat the Dolphins 33-27. On the other side of that, the poor Dolphins, who are now 0-2 this coming Thursday, I believe they get to roll into Buffalo and play those Buffalo Bills.
Bills Mafia,
0
baby.
3 is what it's looking like.
It better be.
Tyreek's getting more and more frustrated by the week as well.
Yeah, what does that do when your star is frustrated? What do you think that does to the cohesiveness of the team, to the locker room, to morale? I'm
Everybody
asking
gets
you guys.
frustrated.
Both of you guys play sports. That's the one thing I did not do at this table. But when your star dude is not that dude and he's frustrated, what does that do to the team?
It makes a lot of things worse. I know the Jets kind of did this and it may not be very accurate, but like in Madden, for example, or like college football, for example, granted it's EA, so I'm not taking it too lightly. Just when one guy has low morale, the rest of the team gets low morale. And when you're playing as the coach or GM, you gotta try your best to just make things better, but it just makes the whole team worse. But granted, that is in the EA game, so
Yeah, Brent, you've coached sports and played college ball. What happens when that dude on your team, the dude everybody looks to when he's frustrated and disgruntled?
Yeah, it trickles down to everybody else. If you're in a bad mood, you're having a bad game, you usually start playing the blame game. So then everybody's usually at each other's throat, and you cannot be successful that way. You have to figure out how to be like, okay, we need to either have a meeting, players only meeting, whatever. We got to hash this out in private, and then we got to move on. Right? We're not pointing fingers. We're not blaming games. Hey, that's on me. Whatever. We got to move forward. Otherwise, it's going to continue to trickle down. It's going to go into your season, and then you're going to lose your season because it just bleeds into everything else. Preparation, your workouts, all that stuff. Because nobody wants to be there.
In Colts, looking at the standings,
tonight the AFC West is up for grabs.
not yet.
I want to tell your team, Jacksonville Jaguars, watch out because they got Liam Cohen as their head coach, and he is young, and he is a genius offensively. Look what he did with Tampa last year. I mean, come on now. And he got Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
And
Wore
that
them
in that
out.
division, to me, is anybody's division. Like they could easily. Are they 1-1 right now?
1-1.
They could
Yep.
easily.
Colts 2-0. Jags 1-1. Texans, Titans 0. Well, Texans are playing now. They were losing. I've not seen the score since I came up here. 0-1, potentially about to be 0-2 because they're playing the Bucks, and Titans are 0-2.
They'll come back. Cam Ward for MVP. They'll come back.
Fandom at its best, right there. Yeah. We said earlier in the cast, like I think the Texans or Jags can take that division and potentially run away with it.
I think it's the Jags. I think the Jags run away with it.
Yeah, I agree. So in Chargers and Raiders, one of those teams is going to be 2-0.
Chargers.
I don't think we'd be surprised if it's the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think we'll be shocked if the Raiders start the season 2-0. I have the Chargers winning that division, winning it big.
Brock Bowers also a couple hours ago got activated to play in that game as well. So that's good for the Raiders that they'll have Brock Bowers for that game. So you still have your. I feel like the Raiders are a team to look out for in a few years. Brock Bowers is going into his second year. This is his second year, I believe. And he just got Ashton Genty out of the draft. So you still got Max Crosby and a solid defense. So I think within the next few years, Las Vegas might be a team, if they do it right with Pete Carroll and all that, Las Vegas might be a dangerous team in a few years.
Well, they have a quarterback.
Geno Smith.
Yeah. He's a great quarterback that I don't think people give him enough credit for.
They don't. What he did in Seattle, I think, was remarkable,
Right.
and nobody talked about it.
Right.
Nobody talked about
When
it.
Russell left, I think everybody was just like, oh, they're done. Then Geno comes in.
And balls out.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling on down. Green Bay's 2-0. Vikings 1-1. Lions 1-1.
Tampa Bay just became 2-0, by the way. They did beat the Houston Texans just now.
Tampa's now 2-0. Texans 0-2. Check this out. The NFC West. Niners 2-0. Cardinals 2-0. Rams 2-0. Seahawks 1-1.
Tough division.
Tough.
What I've seen so far, I think the Rams might be the best team out of that division, though.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and the 49ers have a. Go ahead.
look at the coaches in that division though
That
that
is
you
true.
just named.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, and the Niners have a huge question mark now. With how long's Purdy out? Matt continue to play that way. That's a big question mark.
George Kittle's also hurt as well, I think. I think George Kittle's out for the next, I think, 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. So you don't have your starting quarterback or your star tight end right now either.
I'm still really, really. We talked about this probably being the most wide open division. I think it is the most wide open division. Um, we talked about this earlier. Don't sleep on the Cardinals. They're young. They're exciting. They got a great quarterback. Their defense is getting better.
Right now with the Cardinals, it all depends on how Kyler Murray plays and probably develops. Because as I think what I've seen, a lot of people, especially like Cardinals fans, have seen he's done no growth or not much, or hasn't really done any remarkable growth to where it's a difference on the field. But and it's probably hard being 5'7" and being an NFL quarterback. But I think right now probably the biggest thing holding the Cardinals back might be Kyler Murray.
Hold
Not
on, hold
just
on. Why do you say that? Because his
Just
size.
he has a lot of good weapons around him in my opinion with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison. Has a decent offensive line, but right now they are 2-0, which I like. I just think if I believe he has gone better with it over the past few years, but I think he can do more with what he has around him.
What do you think he's lacking in? Is it preparation? Is
Um,
it what? Not getting the ball out on time? What do you think it is?
I think let me pull up what their last.
I can't hear you.
I'm right now pulling up the last game right here. Maybe it's probably getting the ball out on time. He had a QBR of 68 when they played the Panthers, and then in their other game he had their first game against the Saints. He had a QBR of 57.6. Both games he got sacked one time, and in both games he averaged less than 5.5 yards a pass. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong side here. He had a QBR of 48 against the Saints and had a sack and got sacked 5 times. So I just think with he could probably do more and probably getting the ball out more in time, but I think he can still get better and has room to grow still.
Well, he played two really bad teams.
Yeah,
Those
that's
numbers,
true. So
it's got to be, my opinion, it's got to be preparation. It's got to be decision making. It's got to
yeah,
be maybe coaching, right? Are we putting him in the best situation? Are we putting our players in the best situation? Because you should have better numbers when you play the Saints and the Panthers, right?
yeah, exactly. So we'll see when they play in San Francisco on the 21st.
Well, that also depends on who your quarterback is.
Yeah, the Cardinals are still going to start
No, I'm
Kyler.
talking about the 49ers when they play in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe the Seahawks might be his game. Mac Jones, I think, is still playing in week 3.
So let's talk about Mac Jones for a second. Do you think, because Mac Jones was with the Patriots,
Yeah,
bad
I think he
situation,
made a Pro
right?
Bowl in that sense.
Do you think
Yeah.
that with a better situation like this, he can be more successful? Because, I mean, you got to think about who his 49ers head coach is. He's an offensive guy. So quarterback guy. So do you think maybe he can push the right buttons for Mac Jones and be successful with Purdy out?
I think so. I think so much of the NFL. Obviously, you have to be immensely talented to get in the NFL. That's the most obvious statement that's ever been made in the history of statements. But I think so much of it is system. What system you get in? If you're a pocket guy, you don't need to be in like an RPO, right? You need to have that system. You need to have an O line that can stand up.
To
And
have
I
weapons.
think you have to have weapons, but it doesn't matter what weapons you have if your O line can't protect you and keep you off your backside. If they're not catching the ball, if your coordinators are not seeing the game, are not seeing the defense, are not relaying those things to you, if you don't have those mental intangibles, um, and if that system is not conducive to the players that they have, Mac Jones obviously very successful in college. You see it a lot, unfortunately, I just think so much of it is system, and I think a lot of times there's coaches who are not willing to change their system because that's my system, and they have personnel for A, but they want to run B, and instead of just being who they are, they try to be something else. Uh, so I think this could be a great opportunity for them. San Francisco, like you said, a great coach, great history out there, traditionally a great defense. Their kicking game is questionable now because they've let Moody go. So let's see what this new guy can do. Because as you get in those close
I think
games,
Moody signed with the Bears.
you've got kickers hitting 64-yard bombs now. Special teams plays such an important part, especially in a close game. But obviously, you have to be immensely talented to be a professional quarterback in the NFL when you have literally 2 to 5 seconds to make a decision. But I think I don't. And again, another thing too is is this a contract year for Purdy? As he comes in, he shocked the world, didn't he? He came in and shocked the world. Wasn't very highly touted as far as coming out. Was very low in the draft.
Mr. Irrelevant.
So can that happen? Now. So it's interesting in San Francisco.
Yeah, I
Interesting. We'll
think
see what
Purdy's the quarterback of the future.
Yeah, I didn't mean to insinuate that he wasn't, but maybe this is an audition to get Max something else in the future, a
Hey.
good situation, a good possibility.
It could be. You look back at Baker Mayfield, right? Everybody thought his
Mhm.
career was over, and then, hey, now look at him.
If nothing else, it gives you potential trade options. Everybody's looking for a quarterback. Everybody's looking for the guy. Everybody's looking for the face of the franchise. So it gives you some chips, as it were, in the draft to draft up and get a guy, or to put a package together to go get a piece you really need. Obviously, the 49ers don't need quarterback right now, but it allows you to go get a piece you might really need to bolster whatever it is, whether it's on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. And it also sets that guy up as a second opportunity, second chance to go help somebody else and resurrect their own career. Perfect example, Brent, is what Baker Mayfield did in Cleveland versus what he's doing now for Tampa.
Yeah, he was at Carolina there for a little bit too.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And the Rams.
Yeah, bounced around,
And now, he's dominating for the Buccaneers.
Up the NFL. This is fun.
That's it. Chargers and Raiders kicked off. Chargers right now leading that game 3-0, but Vegas is starting them.
I got a lot of confidence in the Chargers.
I do too. Say what you say what you want about Jim Harbaugh, but Duke can coach, and he builds his teams from the inside out. He knows what he's doing.
There's a reason his first draft pick there was Joe Alt a couple years ago.
Okay, so if everybody's good, college football, the most wonderful time of year.
Love college football.
Isn't it just beautiful?
I've been waiting this whole time for college football.
Yeah, now we all kind of have our niche, which really works out great. I'm the nerdy NASCAR guy. He's the cool NFL guy. He's the he's the great, amazing college football guy. I'm just the old 40-year-old they give a microphone to, right? So college football, let's talk about it.
Well,
let's talk about it, Jared.
Yeah.
You don't want to?
Jared, I want to talk about the game. I want to talk about
the game.
The game.
The game. Not the game, because we all know the game happens between Ohio and Michigan.
Joey had a good game.
It was the game of the week. College game days there. Neyland's packed out. Checkerboard, right? They got the stands in the checkerboard. Brent, I have one word for that game, and we'll be nice to my son, your nephew.
These are jerks.
My only word for that game is ouch. Right? Ouch.
I legit fell to the floor.
They gave it away. Let me remind you, does anybody remember the score at the end of the first quarter?
Okay, here's the thing.
I wrote it down.
Here's the thing. Joey Aguilar, he threw, when he was at Appalachian State, he threw 24 touchdowns and 24 picks. He threw 2 picks in like the second quarter. And that was and also I might add, Tennessee was very hurt on the defensive side of the ball. Our top 2 corners were hurt. I think we had a linebacker hurt as well. They were hurt on the defensive side of the ball, which did not help.
Yeah.
How did that affect your kicker missing so badly?
That doesn't nothing to do with the kicker at that part. It was just Tennessee probably could have done better if they didn't have the players that they had out. I just think it could have been better if we had Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson in that game.
Again, Gunnar Stockton with that secondary hurt didn't light the world on fire. 23 of 31, 304 yards, QBR 93.4. So let's look. When you compare passing, Georgia 304, Tennessee 371. 1 pick for Gunnar, 2 for Joey. Rushing yards, Tennessee 125. Here's the difference right here. Georgia rushing 198.
That's what I was going
Gunner
to
broke
say.
out a few times.
I'm sorry, what?
Gunner broke out a few times. That was a big difference maker as well. We couldn't stop Gunner if he rolled out either side of the ball. He would just run right through the defense, which is what he did a lot last year in the playoffs. I thought Tennessee probably would have been a bit more prepared for that with how good our pass rush is and how solid our linebackers are. Because our starting linebacker is one of the better linebackers in the whole SEC.
But that's all I was going to say. Whenever you brought up the passing yards, that's not what Georgia's going to do. Their quarterbacks are game managers because they have a great defense they're going to rely on. They're going to run the ball down your throat. So I'm glad you brought that stat up because that is huge. That is Georgia football.
Gunnar was the second leading rusher for the Dogs with 38 yards, had a touchdown. His longest run was 14. Frazier, your leading rusher for the Dogs, 73 yards, no touchdowns, broke off 1 for 21. Again, Tennessee only rushed for 125. Star Thomas with 60, Bishop with 54, Lewis with 19, Aguilar with -8. Let's look at turnovers for Georgia. 1 fumble lost. Tennessee 2 fumbles, none lost. And then we talked about the turnover game as far as interceptions. 1 interception that Georgia threw, and 2 for Joey Aguilar. What are you guys thinking?
Chris Brazzell had a game though. That was a really good game by Tennessee's receiving. Chris Brazzell, he was really good that game. Same with Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews. I just really liked how our receiving was in that game. And then Miles Tillsman was another really good receiver for Tennessee.
Yeah, kicking, but Georgia 3 for 3. Longest to 48.
In Max Gilbert's defense, though, he's only a sophomore, and that's the first time he was ever put in a situation like that. So it just makes me mad how the very next in overtime he hit the exact same kick.
I was just about to bring that up, Jer. He might be
Both
young,
kickers,
but he made it.
Sorry, Brent.
He made 2 field goals, just didn't make the one when it mattered.
Yeah.
Both had 3 opportunities. Both had the exact same long of 48. Woodring for Georgia had 12 points. Gilbert had 11, but the difference is 2 for 3 versus 3 for 3. And as Brent mentioned, that defense and that quarterback and Kirby and on and on, you cannot give the Dogs a fighting chance. You've got to beat them while they're down. And again, Jared, we're not trying to pile on you, but at the end of the first quarter, Tennessee 21, Georgia 7. So help me do the math. In the second quarter, Georgia scores 10, third quarter 10, fourth quarter 11, so 31 points. Somebody remember that. Tennessee 0, 7, 10, so was 17. Was that 31 to 17? They were outscored in the last 3 quarters, and overtime outscored 6 to 3 for that final score of Georgia 44, Tennessee 41.
That's a tough one.
It's tough. That's one of those. I remember watching that game on my phone because we had an event, and just you ever watch the game? I'm gonna ask both of you this question. You ever watch the game and you're like, "Dang, it's sad somebody has to lose this game." You ever thought that? I know somebody has to, but like, man, this is just such a classic game. That's kind of the way I felt, and not to be just wimpy or everybody gets a participation trophy. It was just a good college football game, Game day there, just a big deal. And again, the word I used was ouch. Got a chance to walk it off, send Knoxville and Needham into a frenzy.
Into a 9-game losing streak.
But your kicker missed it. Georgia wins like their ninth in a row against the Vols, 44-41.
Last time we beat them was with Josh Dobbs and Jawan Jennings.
Hail Mary, right?
Yeah, it was a Hail Mary.
Yeah, remember that. Anything else we want to talk about in that game?
Joey's still learning SEC football. I remember when he threw his first interception, he just chucked it up, threw up a prayer, and it got picked off. And I remember the commentators of Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit said, I think it was Chris who said, you can't do that in the SEC, especially against Georgia. You can't just chuck up a back foot prayer and hope someone catches it, because most likely it's the other team who catches the ball. So I think Joey's still learning. But I think as the season progresses, he'll learn more and more. Tennessee still 15th in the new rankings, so I think Josh will just pat him on the back and just let him keep playing and learning.
And Tennessee's schedule, very manageable. Very, very manageable. There are definitely much harder schedules in the SEC. UAB comes to Neyland this week. You go to Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State, who knows what they are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But you go to Mississippi State, Arkansas comes to you. You go to Alabama. Bama's playing better, but their competition has been much, much, much weaker since they lost in Florida State. Then they get a bye week in Lexington.
Funny.
Then Oklahoma comes in. Then they close, against New Mexico State at Florida, and close at 20th ranked Vanderbilt.
A lot of people think that Vanderbilt is better than Tennessee, which I highly disagree with. But yeah, that's going to be a fun game to actually watch this year. Vanderbilt has been a really solid team. I think next year, though, they're losing Diego Pavia after this year.
Finally.
So I think he's legit been in college football since like 2019.
I'm going to state the obvious just so our friends know. My brother is a diehard, dyed-in-the-wool Kentucky football fan, and has been one for as long as I can remember. So when we say things like, whichever team is playing Kentucky, that's their bye week, it's a personal shot.
It's a shot.
It's a personal shot. Matter of fact, our first recording, he's like, your recording was great, and he picked out the one time we called, when Texas plays Kentucky, we called that Texas' bye week. And my brother took offense to that, which made us say it all the more.
Hurt my feelings. I'm not going to lie. But
so again, let me ask this question, Brent. With this score, I'll both does Tennessee need to panic?
No. Oh, God, no.
I don't think they do.
Okay.
You lost to Georgia in overtime.
However, when you listen to the fan base sometimes, they are...
Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee, they have a solid future, too. Their recruiting class is insane for next year. Like, they already have the number one wideout and quarterback in the class of 2026. So they're fine. I don't think they have anything to really lose their
very,
minds
very,
about.
very favorable schedule coming up. So, again, I just wanted to ask that because, again, when you watch social media and stuff, and Vols fans can be Vols fans, sometimes it's like they're ready to throw in the towel, but they don't need to.
It's not the media. It's Vols fans.
Yeah.
If they lose a game, the sky is falling. It's like, no, it's not.
Fair enough. I'm just looking at Paul Feinbaum on my screen, which drives me.
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
He said something completely absurd.
I'm a Michigan football fan, so I will be very quick about this. They won like 63-3 in the Big House against Central Michigan.
Underwood played really well.
That's what I want to talk about. Bryce used his legs as well. Okay. And Michigan wins with Coach Moore's first of a 2-game suspension. I didn't know who this guy was coaching Michigan, but apparently
in the Fogey era.
Yeah, but apparently Fogey was, like a special assistant to Harbaugh in the years leading up to the championship. So he's very familiar with the culture, very familiar with the team, with the personnel, all those things. But I wrote Bryce used his legs as well. And I think that's something that people have been waiting to see. Now, granted, I want to keep things in context there. This is Central Michigan.
114 yards rushing for Bryce, led the entire team. And with how Haynes has been running, that's a really hard thing to do. Yeah. But yeah, it was Central Michigan.
Yeah, so again, I'm trying to be careful and be mindful. Bryce is still a freshman, right? But again, let's look here, rushing Michigan 390 yards on the ground, 2 guys over 100. I know you're playing Central Michigan. Plus, you're playing a ticked off Michigan team who just came out of Norman with a loss. Everybody's wondering who they are, what they're going to do. Coach Moore's not there. This is the last thing I'll say. Now they go to Lincoln against Matt Rule and those Nebraska Huskers who are 3-0
That's going to be a
on the road.
really testing
I wrote
game.
this down, guys. Trap game. What do you think?
I don't know why it would be a trap game. Why would you think it's a trap game?
I think it's a trap game because you're just coming off this big win. I think you're going into Lincoln, where it's another difficult road game. I think, again, Matt Rule is a great coach. I think you don't have Sharon Moore. I think the environment can be a game changer.
But what is the trap?
I think the Cornhuskers are the trap. I think you can overlook them.
Okay.
And I just think if they're not careful, I think this is a trap game for them.
I don't know why you would overlook Nebraska.
Nebraska's been playing really well.
Yeah. And if you look back at Matt Rule's coaching history, his third year, they always win 10-plus games.
That's what I'm
Jared,
saying.
if you want to fact check that, that'd be good. I think his third year they take off.
I just think it's a trap game, and I hope they take Nebraska serious, but I'm just afraid they won't. I'm just telling you. I know we can sit here and say it shouldn't be a trap game, and to a point I agree. But you just come off this big win. You've got Wisconsin coming up next. You're on the road. I just think if they're not careful, they don't take it seriously, and they run in there, and I think they can run into a buzzsaw. I do. That's why I say trap game. I think you can underestimate. Matter of fact, Nebraska on the matchup predictor 50.3 to Michigan 49.7.
Yeah, this is Matt Rule's third year.
So ESPN agrees. So I'm not saying. That's my fear is that I don't think this is the Nebraska of years past.
No,
I don't.
It's not.
And they played versus Cincinnati, versus Akron. They've been at home. This is their fourth home game in a row against Cincinnati, Akron, and Houston Christian. But they're destroying the teams they're supposed to destroy. And I think that intangible is what you said. It's Matt Rule and his reputation of that third year coming in. And I just think these are college kids we're talking about. I just wrote down, I think this can be a trap game. I think they can roll in there thinking, hey, we just scored 63. We're rolling, we're ranked, we got some things figured out. And I just think if they're not careful, everybody's, again, apparently not everybody's predicting them when it's 50-50 according to ESPN. But I just think for Michigan, this can be a trap game. And you guys can disagree, but I think it's a potential trap.
I think it's 50-50 for sure. And being at Lincoln, I might give the edge to Nebraska.
But, when the year first started and you looked at this game, would it still be the same way? Would you have looked at that game the same way you do now?
I don't know. It's tough because you got your quarterback from Michigan, Underwood. He's a true freshman, right? Well, you got Nebraska's quarterback this is his second year. So if you look at that, you're kind of like, maybe Nebraska's got it. I don't know. I think I would still look at it the same because the true freshman, he's only played one good team on the road, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And how did he look in that game?
Yeah.
Now you're going on the road again to Nebraska.
Even then, they on the road they lost by 9, in Norman, which again I'm not trying to participation for here, but that's respectable.
Oklahoma's a good team this year.
Oklahoma might be better than anybody thought.
Okay.
So that's my thing is, are we just on the recency Nebraska? Oh, they're 3-0, or are we just kind of, do we feel the same way now we felt 3 weeks ago about Nebraska? The great thing about Michigan is defense travels and that running game travels. And if Underwood can run the ball, you've got Haynes, you've got what's the other guy? You got those three guys that can run. You got a good defense. So those things travel. You bring your lunch pail. Those things do travel. I just think Michigan needs to be really, really careful.
They should.
When Michigan rolls in anywhere, you're getting their best shot.
I'm just a Matt Rule fan.
Yeah.
Because
again, it might be a hot take.
That's just his. It's just what he does. He builds programs, and you got a returning quarterback. Plus, you look at the wide receiver room, running backs, Yeah, it's just I'm a fan.
Yeah, Cornhuskers are a 2.5 point favorite right now. So they're saying the game's going to be played within a field goal.
Oh yeah,
The matchup
absolutely.
predictor, ESPN saying Nebraska 50.3%. It's 50-50, 49-7.
No, I'm not saying blowout, but I think it's
I
going to
don't think
be.
anybody is.
I think it's going to be a great game.
And you got that call, with Sherone not there. If this
That's
interim
another
coach
thing you
has to make a big call. That's why I'm saying trap game. If he's got to make a big call, Sharon's not there. You got the situation of a young quarterback. I just think a lot can go wrong for Michigan this week if they're not prepared, not ready. I think they walk right into a trap.
That's what I'm saying.
Texas and UTEP. Texas only won that game by 17. I saw a post where Texas fans were not too happy about that and were booing Arch Manning off the field. What are y'all's takes about that one? I don't think Arch had the best of games either, especially when you're playing UTEP at home.
Arch hasn't played good all year, and I am not. I was on the Texas bandwagon at the beginning of the year, and now I'm just like, they are so beatable. What are they going to do when they get in the SEC? I think they. I mean, they have all the talent in the world, but I think they might win 8, 9 games. I don't think they're a playoff team, and I don't think it's fair
Arch
to
Manning,
put the blame on Manning. He's young.
yes, thank you.
He's so young. The SEC is so tough. It's just he ain't quite there yet. He still needs more time. And everybody was
Poor
saying he
kid.
was the Heisman Trophy favorite. Like, guys, let him play. And he has not played well.
The victim of that last time success, right? Manning, let the kid play. I love that.
Well, he
His stats. Go ahead. Sorry.
he had some big games last year, but those games were against less opponents.
Yeah, maybe in cleanup time too, when the game's not in doubt.
But
His stats were
I
11
think
for
they won 8,
25,
9 games this year.
114 yards. 114 yards.
My point, yeah. My point.
However, here's the difference. Rushing, UTEP 50 yards, Texas 227.
Which you should do that.
Maybe maybe he didn't have to throw the ball, or maybe that's coaches saying something. We don't trust you to throw the ball, so we're just gonna hand it off, hand it off, hand it off, and let them just go. Let them big boys up front, which is a good luxury to have.
Okay.
I want to stay in the SEC and go to this Florida LSU game. Can we talk about Lagway for a minute? How many interceptions did he throw?
5.
Five. But still, what's crazy? Throwing 5 interceptions, you only lose by 10, and your defense only gives up 20
At Baton Rouge.
on the road. What does that say more about Florida, Brent, or LSU?
I would say LSU. I would say offensively, it's not good. If a team gives you 5 extra chances and you only put up 20 points, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That's a lot on Brian Kelly too, because I think he's is he offensive minded?
Yes.
So yeah, and he's like, I know he's been focusing on the defense because I watched the SEC documentary and they said LSU's defense held them back a lot last year. So, and Brian Kelly was honestly on the verge of probably getting fired if LSU's defense didn't get better this year. I think that's what a lot of fans wanted, but yeah, I think Brian Kelly just needs to probably do a little bit better.
I think, guys, tell me what you think about this. I think Brian Kelly, I don't know, is like sensitive. Apparently, did you guys see what happened in the post game conference? Apparently, a reporter asked a question about their offense, and he went off on this reporter and had to come back today and apologize. So to me, that says, because Brent, you mentioned their offense.
Yes.
To me, that says he's aware of it and he's super sensitive about it, like somebody talking about your girlfriend, right?
Which you should be.
So what are you guys' thoughts about that? And maybe he's sensitive about it. So when the reporters even go there, he's just automatically, no pun intended or whatever, he's automatically on defense.
Well, he should be. Because, like I said before, they gave you 5 extra chances and you only scored 20 points. Like, you should be upset about that. So,
At home.
at home. I mean, but at the same time, do we give Florida's defense respect? I mean, he threw 5 picks. Defense only gave up 20 points. So maybe we need to shout out Florida's defense a little bit.
That's a good question. Is LSU's offense that bad, or is Florida's defense that good? Give LSU's defense some credit. Five takeaways. That's it's not you only got 4 quarters. You only have how many possessions in a game, and for 5 of those to be picks,
Mm-hmm.
that's there. Just going through
Oregon did Oregon thing.
Oregon being Oregon.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Notre Dame. What do you guys think about Notre Dame?
Yeah, where they A&M snuck a win out of Notre Dame. Was that game also
Was in
at
South
Notre Dame?
Bend.
Yeah, it was in South Bend. I couldn't think of where the
Yep.
game was located.
Here's this, guys. Notre Dame 0-2, 0-1 at home. What do you think?
They need a quarterback. That's what I think. Who is their quarterback?
CJ Carr, he is a freshman.
Need a quarterback.
CJ Carr, 20 of 32, 293 through the air, 9.2 average, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, QBR 80.3.
Had negative 15 rushing yards as well.
Marcel Reed for A&M, 17 of 37, so 20 incompletions, 360 through the air, 9.7 average, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 77.9 QBR. Looking at rushing here.
Difference was receiving.
Yep, rushing 147 Notre Dame, 128 for A&M. Receiving 360 A&M versus 293 for Notre Dame. No fumbles lost. How many picks here? Turnovers, 1 for each, so that kind of balances out. But it's just that team played for a natty last year. And here's Coach Freeman coming in. Now they're 0-2. I guess the good news is, they play Purdue this week coming up, so they will right the ship. But I think it's worth mentioning the Irish are on Duke.
We have A&M because I have another game I would like to bring up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, I have 2 games I would like to bring up. Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and then Clemson, Georgia Tech. Start with either one. I don't care which one, but probably start with South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt won by 24 points in South Carolina. So I think did you say Lenoris got hurt?
He did.
At one point in that game.
He did.
So
he got hurt, did not return to the game, and he's questionable for Saturday.
Yeah, he only threw 7 passes, completed 6 of them for 94 yards. So when he played, he was playing. 1 pick, no touchdowns, but only threw the ball 7 times before he got hurt. Again, through the air, South Carolina wins 242 to 177. Check this out. Ground game. Belt 146. South Carolina 86.
Well, Clark Lee took over Vanderbilt's play calling. And if you remember, he was at Notre Dame as the DC before he came to Vandy. The dude can call defense. So that doesn't surprise me that they're really good defensively. But what surprises me is how in the heck Diego Pavia is so good. When he came in last year in the SEC, I thought, oh, God, he's going to be terrible. And all he did was win. And I'm like,
well, while he was at New Mexico State, also Clark Lee brought over a lot of guys from New Mexico State. Vanderbilt has that chemistry as well. But while most of those guys are still at New Mexico State, a few of those guys, including Diego, came over and beat Auburn as well.
Yeah, they beat Auburn at Auburn. Yeah, that's right. But, I mean, it's Auburn. So I really didn't pay attention to that because, did we overlook them? Did Auburn overlook New Mexico State? Which happens because if you look back last year, right, Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame, right? But then Notre Dame plays for a national championship. So I just didn't see Diego Pavia doing this in the SEC. And it's like, how are you doing it? Because it's nothing crazy. It just seems like simple crap that nobody can stop. I mean, you know how hard it is to play at South Carolina? And you win 31-7?
Well, not just in the SEC, but let's be real, at Vanderbilt, where the personnel is not what it is at Alabama, or let's just be real, guys, at Alabama or a Georgia or a Tennessee. It's just not. We can say it is, but it's just not. So the fact that those guys are putting stuff together, it's unbelievable. They might be the story of college football. We'll see. That's pretty incredible what they're doing in Nashville. Maybe they should have renovated the stadium a long time ago, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Vandy's about to go to 4-0 because they play Utah State Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have Vanderbilt at 4-0. And it's like, what in the heck is going on?
Now,
Really tough second
let's
half.
talk about that. The
besides
second half
bye.
of Vanderbilt's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The next two probably dubs: Georgia State, Utah State.
Yeah, it wins.
Then at Auburn, home versus LSU, home versus a ranked Missouri,
Alabama.
at Texas, home against a ranked Auburn team, against, I'm not just saying this because you're on, against a very good Kentucky team, and then closing the year at Tennessee. So we won't learn much about Vanderbilt really for at least 3 more weeks when they go into Tuscaloosa. At that point, guys, you guys play sports. At this point, are you buying your own press and your clippings and whatever, and you roll into Bama? Are you into the hype? When you roll into Bama, is that something athletes have to deal with and manage?
I hate to say this as a Kentucky fan, but I think Vandy's playing with so much confidence now, it's not even hype. It's like they beat Bama last year. They only lost to Texas by 3 points. Like, come on now. I mean, they won their bowl game. And this year, they beat Virginia Tech, which at the time I thought was a good win, but now it's looking iffy. And then they beat South Carolina, but you're like, South Carolina's quarterback got hurt, so how much do we take into that? But it's still confidence because they beat Virginia Tech. They beat South Carolina on the road. And then you're gonna start your season 5-0. That's building on last year. I think it's confidence. And I hate to say that because I am not a Vandy fan. And I do not like Diego Pavia. Do not like him.
They're, like you said, they're going to roll into Bama, 5-0. But I still think we're going to learn a lot about them, rolling into Bama. Bama's going to have a chip on their shoulder, right? Because of what happened last year. Well, they're going to Nashville and get beat.
They are, but Bama's.
So
go ahead.
We're going to learn a lot about that team that way.
Bama's got to play tougher because you know what Vandy's going to do? They're going to play tough.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're going to play tougher because Florida State wiped the floor with Alabama in their first game.
When's the last time anybody said Bama's got to play tougher? That Saban mentality for all those years.
Well, it's hard to bring a West Coast open offense to the SEC.
South Florida's Cinderella run is done. 49-12 to Miami.
Now, let me ask you a question about that. So, do you think the Cinderella is done? Or can they still be a Cinderella even though they lost to a much better team in Miami? Like, what do you mean by Cinderella?
Well, you have them, beating Boise. Boise's not what they thought they were. Florida, winning that game by 2 at the Swamp. But we've chronicled Florida's problems. And then going into Miami and losing that badly. So yeah, I do think their Cinderella run is done. The only thing that is going to maybe mask that is the rest of their schedule is cake.
That's my point.
So I think if they play these major teams, and I want to give them all the respect in the world, I just think they were this year's Cinderella team. And I think just like what happens in March Madness, you have a Cinderella team, they get on a roll. But it's just that they get on a roll, they get punched in the mouth. In that case, they're done. But it kind of brings them back to earth again. But give them credit. But the rest of their year: South Carolina State, Charlotte, North Texas, FAU, Memphis, UTSA, Navy, UAB, Rice. They probably don't lose again.
So that's my point. So I think South Florida is in the College Football Playoff at the end of the year.
Right, that's a 11-1 team.
Right, and then
they lost.
They win their conference. Sorry, what?
And their only other loss was to the 5 seed at the time, so they might do kind of like what Boise did last year, just be that last team that just makes it.
Yeah, because you get the highest ranked group of 5 team goes in,
Mhm.
which was Boise State last year. I think that's South Florida this year because you beat a ranked Boise State at the time. You beat ranked Florida at Florida, 2 really good wins. And then you run the American Conference, which isn't great, but it's not bad. It's not like the Sun Belt or Conference USA, right? So I think to get into the playoffs, I don't want to say the Cinderella's over. I think they lost to a team that they should have lost to by a lot.
I think for that Cinderella run for me to not call it a Cinderella run, that game had to be closer because that's just what they got handled. And I'm trying to find who knows what Florida is actually going to be. Right now they're 1-2. So how good is that loss or win rather?
Right.
You think Napier?
You know,
I think it's going to be a good. I think it's going to be a good win, no matter what, because you went into the swamp against the SEC team at night, and you were not supposed to win that game.
but even if you go into an SEC team and not on the road and you beat a bad team, I don't agree.
What does this mean for Napier though? You're 1-2. Your starter just threw 5 picks. Your next 3 teams are Miami, Texas, and A&M. So what does this mean for Napier? If you have a terrible year, because the second half of your schedule is also rough, because after you play Mississippi State, you play Georgia. After Kentucky, you get another 3 ranked opponents in a row. So what would this mean for Napier if they probably don't do well, and if Lagway has another game like what he had the other night against LSU?
I think Napier's done. I think this is last year because
If it gets through the year,
I think last year was going to be his last year, but somehow he turned it around at the end of the season. So
Did they finish ranked last year, Florida?
they didn't finish ranked, but I think
They
they
didn't finish
finished
ranked,
like what 8-5. Is that right? Won their ball
something
game,
like that. Yeah.
but I don't. So he saved himself. But this year, losing to South Florida at home, and then on top of that, the next 3 games, my opinion, they lose. So that puts you at what? 5?
1-5. Yeah, 1-5.
He's gone.
Yeah, I don't think Florida. I think if you're a head coach, you cannot take Florida to 1-5 in the first 6 games of the year.
No, because
and
then
again, go ahead. Sorry.
because then even to make a bowl game, right? You're 1-5. That means you have to go 5-1 in your the last 6 games. It's not going to happen with their schedule.
Napier can't sit down because that seat is.
Yeah, South Florida did him in.
Clemson, Georgia Tech next.
Yep, you guys are ready. In 1-2, 0-2 in the ACC.
The only reason they're 1-2 is probably because of Gabe Klubnik and that offense.
That one win, they were down at the half to Troy. They were losing the
Yeah,
half.
they should be on 3.
They should be 0-3. They're ranked 12th,
I
so
think in the latest rankings they're unranked.
they are now.
Yeah, they should.
They were ranked 12th. Clemson is now unranked after losing to Georgia Tech. What do you guys think about? What do you guys think about Clemson? What do you guys think about? How does? Let me ask this question because I don't know. How does Dabo do with the portal in this new age of college football?
You have to get into
So
it.
is he involved in that, or is he kind of trying to do things the way they worked 5 years, 10 years ago? I don't know genuinely.
I genuinely think, and he's actually said it, he does not like the portal. So he has not bought into the portal. And if you have not bought into the portal by now, you are years behind and you're not going to be successful.
I'd seen that on social media, but we know what that means. I heard he's not in the portal, the NIL stuff, all that. So he's trying to do things in a way that in 5 years have already become archaic. And the sport will pass him by.
It already has.
Maybe already has. Well, time will tell. But 1-2 at Clemson, unranked. You went from 12th, unranked. Again, now let's give Georgia Tech some credit for on the road. If they still run that triple option, which I think they do, that thing is a monster to stop. And again, it was a 3-point game that came down to like a 54-yard field goal.
Yeah.
You know, so let's kind of try to keep things in perspective a little bit. But the who's record don't lie, 1-2, 0-1 in the ACC. Jeremiah and I talked about this. The ACC is a lot better this year than it was last year.
Yeah, with Dabo, like we were talking about earlier with the portal, with how college football has gone, you have to get with the portal, or I think it might be over for you now. Get in the portal, you're done. I think at this point in college football.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So you go back to, as a Kentucky fan, you go back, so not last year, right? Because they went 4-8. But the 8 previous years they went to bowl games, right? Well, then the portal era came, and then they went 4-8 because they cannot compete with the other teams. And Mark Stoops, he cannot get the guys that he wants because don't have the money, don't have the NIL, all of that. So it might be Clemson. The only thing that will save Clemson's there in the ACC, which leads me to my question. Why do you guys think the ACC is better?
I think, let me pull up the standings here for the ACC mini here. I think they have many teams that are significantly better than they were a year ago. I think Georgia Tech is better. I think Miami is better. Florida State has proven that they're better. I think Louisville, with this USC transfer, is better. Who knows what North Carolina can be, but they certainly have a better coach.
I think if North Carolina gets their feet under them, like if Belichick gets more stable in there, then North Carolina will be a better team. But yeah, they're going to be better. I think if they get their feet under them.
I just think overall, I think they're a better conference than they were a year ago. Last year you were talking about a 1 or 2 horse race with Miami and Clemson. This year you're talking about 4 or 5 teams at the top who can vie for that. And not just that, it's like traditional powers that are good. And I always have believed that when those traditional teams are good, regardless of conference, college football is better, right? But I just think overall they've got better. You've got Wake Forest. Again, I know it's early, but let's just look at record. Wake Forest 2-1, Virginia 2-1, Syracuse 2-1, SMU 2-1, Pitt 2-1, North Carolina 2-1, Louisville 2-0, Florida State 2-0, Miami 3-0, California 3-0, NC State 3-0, Georgia Tech 3-0. So I just think the conference overall is better this year than it was a year ago. And rising tides raise all boats.
So what is the big wins that the ACC can hang their hat on? Make you feel like they're gonna compete. I know Florida. I know Florida State has the Alabama. I know that one. But what other ones do you have?
Still is an early sample size, that's for sure. But I think Miami, being what they were last year, being that close to the the college football playoff and those things, I think each team's better. I don't know if there is that signature win yet to answer your question, but I just think again by and large, I think the conference is better than they were a year ago. And last year they were abysmal. They were terrible. So granted, they may not have a lot way to go, but let's just look at some of these.
I mean, you have Georgia Tech. They went to Colorado and won, but it's Colorado.
I mean, of course, Clemson this past week. I'm gonna go through these one by one and see if there is that. NC State's beating East Carolina, Virginia, and Wake Forest. They're 2-0 in the conference. You guys can keep talking.
Stanford in the ACC, my favorite.
Cal's beating, Minnesota, Big Ten team.
It's a good win.
Good win. Going to Miami now. Miami's beating Notre Dame and South Florida. We just talked earlier about South Florida and how we feel about them. Florida State, we know, beat Alabama. You cannot take that second win into consideration to 77-3. Louisville, they don't have that signature win yet, but I think their quarterback play got better. North Carolina, honestly, who knows? They beat Charlotte and Richmond, lost to TCU, but you have Bill Belichick, so let's see if his coaching translates.
I think Bill Belichick is a couple years away.
Yeah, if he can even do it. You know, if they can even do it, let's just be honest. SMU, what? They played nobody.
They beat Baylor. That'd probably be their big
Yeah.
win.
But do you have to have that big win to be better as a conference, Brent?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to have those big wins because anybody can beat the smaller teams. I mean, you look at Kentucky. You know, they beat Toledo, who's supposed to win the MAC and was a favorite to maybe make the college football playoff as a group of 5. Right? Kentucky beats them. Kentucky is not a very good SEC team. As a fan, I'm just telling you the truth. They lose to Ole Miss by 7, right? And then they beat Eastern Michigan, but Eastern Michigan just lost to Long Island. I didn't know Long Island had a team, football team. So yeah, I think you have to have it for me to believe that you are legit. Like I don't look at Kentucky and be like, you're legit, even though you're 2-1.
But do you think, based on what you've seen the eye test, based on what that conference was last year, that as a conference they're better this year?
Yeah, I think the top 4. Yeah, I think they're the
Last year,
top 4.
did they even have a top 4 last year though?
You had Miami, you had Clemson.
They had a top 2.
Yeah, well, you have to throw Louisville in there, even though I hate to do that, because Louisville won what 10 games, 11 games last year,
And I think
10. You can fact check me. I think it was 10. So and I mean Louisville had some good wins. So I think the only difference between this year and last year is Florida State finally is playing good football. I think that's the only difference. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think Georgia Tech's playing much better football too than they have in the past. I think they're
on the ACC, I agree.
better, worse push.
I think they've gone better as well. Like we were saying with their top 4, like their top 4 last year was maybe Clemson, SMU, Miami, and Louisville. And this year they now got Florida State, Miami, Georgia Tech, and maybe Clemson being fourth fourth one. Yeah, I think overall they've gotten a better team. Every team has 2 wins on there, or at least most of them have 2 wins. So I think the SEC, not the SEC, the ACC will be probably a tough will be a tough conference this year, but still not like the SEC or the Big Ten though.
And I want to be clear. I'm not saying they're remotely close to the Big Ten or the SEC. You know, my only thing is they're better.
They are better, but it's hard to be any worse.
But I think now you have 4 or 5 potential players as opposed to last year, 3, maybe 4. And I do think you're right, Brent. I think when Florida State's one of those teams that when they're better, yeah, the ACC is better, but college football at large is better when they're just one of those teams. They're one of those traditional teams. You can't argue against them. So when they're playing better, it makes everything better. Last thing I have here is those Virginia Tech Hokies that we talked about earlier. They're 0-3. They have only scored 57 points, and they've given up 113. Not good. So they fired their coach, Brent Pry, after losing to Old Dominion.
Got blown out.
This past weekend. Dropped to 0-3. So, what do you guys, Virginia Tech? I want them to be good so bad. I just, as a kid, with Frank Beamer and Beamer ball, and I just when Sandman and Metallica and Lane Stadium, but dang it,
Well, here's the thing. To be fair to Virginia Tech, I know they fired their coach and they weren't good, but you think about their schedule that they started out with. They started out with South Carolina. That's tough. Hold on. What happened to my video?
We can still hear you.
Okay. So they started out with South Carolina. Okay. And then they had Vandy. So they played back-to-back SEC schools. Then you got Old Dominion. It should have beat Old Dominion.
Still there?
Yeah. What do you say?
Okay. We've been recording almost 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
One more thing, as we were talking about coach firing earlier, UCLA also fired their coach. UCLA got the break beaten off them in front of the 1,000 UCLA fans that was at the Rose Bowl. And I only see one win maybe out of their next game. Like people have UCLA, um, people have UCLA as their Pula. I don't know if we can invite him back. I don't know if he can join back, but it was nice. He'll probably watch this later, so it was nice having you, Uncle B.
Thank you, Uncle B.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Sorry that your computer shorted out, but anyways, UCLA. People have this team going 0-12, or at least 1-11. Oh, he's back.
There he is.
I didn't know you could
Welcome
join
back to the show, buddy.
I had to refresh.
We're better with you here. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had to refresh it. Sorry, guys.
But yeah, UCLA, they also fired their head coach after the New Mexico loss in front of the 1,000 UCLA fans that were there. People have this team going 0-12. But Nico, I'm going to leave. He's getting what he deserves. It really, really hurt. But I only see maybe one win on this schedule for UCLA. That one win being Northwestern. But outside Northwestern, this team's going 1-11. So, great job, Nico's dad. You put better talent around him. Let's go to UCLA. That's okay. Worst team in the Big Ten, besides maybe Rutgers, but in Northwestern. But I just don't. It's good what they're getting. UCLA's getting what they deserve.
But also, not only is he playing with worse talent, but he's making less money than he did at Tennessee. When you do the,
he took like a $1 million.
When you throw in taxes and all that in California,
he didn't think about that.
No, his dad didn't think about that. His dad's not very smart, evidently.
He for sure didn't think about it. UCLA has only scored 43 points all year, giving up 108, and they've only scored 40.
Tennessee has scored that in a game.
Oregon has scored 162 and only given up 30. Watch out for those Ducks. Nobody's talking about them.
That is probably the most perfectly built team in football right now. And those wideouts are some of the fastest kids in the country. Like, they have Decorium Moore. He's a true freshman from Duncanville. And watch Duncanville Panther highlights from the past few years. It will be probably some of the best high school football you will ever watch. I think they had I think at one point in time, all of their offensive starters were all 5 stars. The lowest rated guy was maybe a 3.5, 4-star. But they have Decorium Moore, who I think has he has a record for something in the 100-meter dash, and just Oregon has a really fast team, and that's, in my opinion, the most perfectly built team in college football right now.
I really want Kentucky to fire Stoops, and please go get Will Stein from Oregon. I know we don't have a lot of money in the football budget, but please figure out how to get him here. He is from Louisville. Come on. Please.
That'd be the only reason
Walk over to Mark Stoops' office and see if you can borrow a little bit. Mark Pope, sorry. Walk over to Mark Pope's office and see if Stoops can borrow a little bit. Hey, Pope, come off a little bit. So, college rankings, I always like the coaches poll better than AP. Brett, this is something we do each week. We kind of just look at the rankings and we just see if everybody's kind of where they need to be, who surprises you one way or the other. So let me just read these real quick, 1 to 25 in order. Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Miami, Georgia, Oregon. Florida State, Texas, Illinois, A&M, Oklahoma, Iowa State, 4-0. Ole Miss, Bama, Tennessee, Utah, Texas Tech, Georgia Tech. Indiana, Vandy, Michigan, Auburn, Missouri, Notre Dame, USC. Anybody surprise you there one way or the other? Or you kind of good with it?
I got to pull the list up.
Teams that were not ranked last week that are now: USC, 3-0, ranked 25. Vanderbilt, not ranked before, ranked 20th. Georgia Tech, previously not ranked, 18th.
And the 3 that were dropped from the rankings were South Carolina, who was ranked 11th, Clemson, who was ranked 12th, and then South Florida, who was ranked 18th.
Yep.
You guys want to know something sneaky? Illinois. Let's talk about that.
Bielema, man, what he did in Wisconsin.
I think they've been ninth all year.
Watch out. You're right. Watch out for those Fighting Illini. Agreed. Great call.
So that was that. So that was two. That was my first one, but I wanted to make sure I had it right. The second thing that I really don't like is Indiana. I cannot stand Indiana. They do not play nobody. They play cupcake universities, and somehow they're ranked in the top 25, and everybody loves them. And I'm like, you cannot beat good teams.
You want a perfect segue? Guess who rolls into Indiana this weekend? Illinois.
Oh, Illinois is going to drop them.
That's just a great segue. That's the primetime game on NBC this week, 7:30 p.m.
Yeah,
Indiana versus Illinois.
Illinois.
I couldn't agree more. They've canceled decent games to play worse teams.
That's my point.
Right.
That's my point. Like, why are we giving you so much respect? You don't want to play nobody. And he said we play 9 conference games. So yeah, they played Ohio State last year and got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to the college football playoff, and what happened? Got destroyed. They don't beat good teams.
Yep. Yeah. They play at Oregon. They play at Penn State.
Loss.
But their schedule at Iowa, at Oregon, home to Michigan State, home to UCLA, at Maryland, at Penn State, home to Wisconsin, at Purdue. Their schedule this year.
They go 9.
Still a weak schedule.
They go 9-3.
Still a weak schedule.
They go 9-3.
Yeah. They avoid. Who all do they avoid? They avoid Ohio State. They avoid Michigan. They get Penn State. They get Oregon. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what even the coaches. Where the coaches got them at?
Coaches have them at 17.
So coaches at 17. Where's the votes got them?
Votes has them at 19.
19.
Yeah, I don't like them.
Play somebody.
But I like the sneaky Illinois. I really like them.
As a Michigan fan, I was so mad when Bielema came back from, was he in Arkansas for a while? Wherever he was, came back to the Big Ten. I was like, dang, this is not good. Not good. And he's doing it. He's doing it.
Well, what do you guys think about the rankings? Throw the question back at you.
I think my two, not just to piggyback off you, but I can't argue against your two surprises. I think Illinois, I think it's about as solid as it gets. I really don't have. I think those are the two biggest surprises. Notre Dame's still ranked at 0-2.
What do you guys think about Ole Miss right now? I'm looking at their schedule right now. They don't have the best of schedules. They only play 2 ranked opponents as of right now, 3 ranked opponents as of right now. So do you guys think they should be that high in the ranking?
You say Ole Miss?
Ole Miss. They're right now 13th in the media and are 11th in the coaches.
No, I like Ole Miss. I do. I like Ole Miss. I like Lane Kiffin, even though
the Lane train.
Even though he just beat my Wildcats. But and that quarterback, man, if he learns to settle down in the first quarter, because that's the only reason why Kentucky was in the ballgame. He threw 2 picks in the first quarter. And then after that, when he settled down, we couldn't. I know Kentucky is not a great football team. I know that. But once he settled down, we could not stop him. And then they just beat Arkansas, which, whether you think Arkansas is good or bad, doesn't matter. It's still an SEC team, and they still won. And you have Bobby Petrino, the offensive coordinator at Arkansas, pretty dang good coach. Right, Taylen Green quarterback, pretty good quarterback. So I actually like Ole Miss. They play good defense. Lane Kiffin is a freaking genius on offense. I like them.
All right, let's look at next week, kind of our final deal. I want to just hear from you, each of you. What's one game that intrigued you? The quote unquote biggest game. I'll go through real quick. By kickoff, from noon on, you have 17 Texas Tech against 16 Utah, UAB Tennessee, Oregon State Oregon, Kent State Florida State. Here's mine: Auburn at Oklahoma. I think that's going to be the biggest, perhaps best game of the week. TCU slugfest potentially. Who knows what Auburn's going to be? Who knows what Oklahoma is yet? I think that's the game for me. Then you got Tulane, Ole Miss, Michigan, Nebraska, Purdue, Notre Dame, Temple, Georgia Tech. Here's another sneaky game in the SEC, Brent. South Carolina at Missouri, Florida at Miami. Lord help Florida. Illinois, Indiana, Georgia State, Vandy, Southeast Louisiana, LSU, Sam Houston, Texas, and then Michigan State, USC. What game or maybe a couple games stick out to you? Maybe as the most must watch, maybe as sneaky, maybe as upset. Kind of what game grabs your attention and why?
Jared, go ahead, go first. I
Okay.
feel like I've been hogging the
The games
conversation.
that the games that stick out to me are probably Texas, Utah, as we said, Oklahoma, Auburn, Michigan, Nebraska. Um, I think South Carolina, Missouri. I think depending on how South Carolina plays this game is what gets them probably back into the rankings and probably more into those college football playoff talks that they were in before the season started. And then Illinois, Indiana. Other than that, that's really it for me on games that stick out or that might make a difference.
All right. I'm going to give you a game that is kind of weird that I think could be a sneaky good game. It's going to be Ole Miss Tulane. I think Ole Miss wins it, but I think it's going to be, as Lee Corso would say, closer than the experts think. So I think that's going to be an interesting game. The one that I think I really want to watch, as we already talked about it, Michigan, Nebraska. I think that's going to show you where Michigan stands in the Big Ten. And I think it's going to show you where Nebraska is. Are they for real? Are they not? And I think the winner of this game is going to take that step to being not an Ohio State, not a Penn State, but being in the top tier of the Big Ten this year. The winner of that game, my opinion.
100%.
So what's your sneaky and best game?
For me, okay. I'm intrigued by. I know it's not just because it's two ranked teams. I just want to. That's the easy go to. But I just think Auburn, Oklahoma is going to be really interesting at Norman. Auburn, both teams 3-0. I'm trying to pull it up. I just don't know who Auburn's got wins over Baylor, Ball State, and South Alabama. I think who you played
It
matters.
does.
And then Oklahoma, of course, they've got the win at home over Michigan. But beyond that, they've beaten Temple and they've beaten Illinois State. So that to me, Oklahoma's still new to the SEC, still trying to fight for, their place to belong. Where are they? Auburn, trying to become relevant again. Now ranked. I think, just like you said, Nebraska, Michigan. I think that game's going to show who's going to move in that towards that upper echelon. With Georgia, with Tennessee, with potentially LSU, those guys. I think that game's going to tell us a lot. I think, Tim, what you think, Brent, because you're a lot more in tune with SEC than I am. How much pressure do you think may be on South Carolina as they roll into Missouri?
It depends on if Lenore Sellers plays.
Great point.
If he plays, I think South Carolina wins. I think if he does not play, South Carolina loses because they do not have a good backup at all. And it showed against Vandy. They could not move the football. And so I would say depends on if he plays, but I think Missouri gets that game.
That kind of leads me, with that being the case, it's going to put, again, without their quarterback, so we want to keep things in moderation, right? But South Carolina 2-0, Missouri 4-0. If that does happen that way, it's going to be interesting to see what Florida is able to do, if anything. It's Miami.
They're not going to do anything.
Yeah, another. First off, late kick, holy moly, 11 p.m. on Fox. Michigan State at USC, 2 3-0 teams. Michigan State is they played Western Michigan, Boston College, and Youngstown.
Boston
Then
College is a good win.
USC has played Missouri State, Georgia Southern, and Purdue. So you might give the scheduling edge to Michigan State. But let me tell you something. As a East Coast team, kicking off at 11, disadvantage.
That's tough.
Disadvantage.
Mhm.
And then look at Texas Tech, Utah, kicking off at noon. What, 10 o'clock out there? So that's early kick for them guys. Jer, what do you think?
What's your surprise
Thank you.
game, Jerry, and the game you're most excited about?
The game I'm probably most excited about is probably it's probably South Carolina, Missouri. Like you said, it depends on if Lenoris plays. But I think that'll be a very important game for Shane and the Gamecocks. But that's probably my favorite to look out for. And then my most excited one's probably Auburn, Oklahoma. And that looks like it's gonna be the funnest game to watch. Of course, it's in Norman, so Auburn is coming into a really tough environment to play in. And of course, Oklahoma being 11th is just going to make those Sooners a lot more wild. And Norman's going to probably be extremely loud on Saturday.
ESPN has OU as the favorite, 65.3% to 34.7. So ESPN analytics are big on OU.
My honest opinion, I thought it'd be higher. I am big on Oklahoma this year.
Yeah, this Mater kid, Matir, however you pronounce it, forgive me for saying if I'm wrong. He's legit.
He is, and that defense
You know,
is legit.
he's
That defense is the
very
SEC
good.
defense now.
And again, Norman is not an easy place to play. I think OU wins. I do, but that's actually a little bigger than I thought by probably 4 or 5 points. I didn't think it'd be almost 70 to 30. 65.5 to 34.5. So they're basically giving Auburn a little bit better than 1 and 3. Chance to win. But as they say, that's why they play the game.
That's it. All right, so
Anything else?
yeah,
Go ahead.
last question. I don't think we've talked about this, or you guys have talked about this. I know you did in the NFL, but I want to know, not the 12-team playoff, all right? I know there's a 12-team playoff, but I want to know who is going to play and win the national championship this year.
Phone?
No, it's Nana's help.
Oh, okay. Hi, Nana.
So who's gonna play? Who's gonna win it?
I'm really heavy on Oregon this year, so I think Oregon might play in it. The only way I don't see Oregon making it is probably inexperience because they have a ton of freshmen and sophomores on their starting roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like their starter, I know for sure he's like a sophomore. Dante Moore's a sophomore. Decorian is a freshman. I think all their wide receivers are freshmen. I think their oldest wideouts, I think, is maybe a senior or a junior. But I think Oregon will make it, and then I think they'll probably play Ohio, maybe Ohio or Penn State, maybe. And I'll probably give the edge here to them playing Ohio, and I think Ohio might be back-to-back champions if they get things settled down with Julian Sand.
Really good question. According to the odds-on favorites, they have Ohio State as the favorite, followed by Penn State,
Alabama third.
Texas. Their teams to watch. Then Oregon, and for teams to watch, they have Georgia, LSU, and Alabama. We talked about them earlier. Oregon is scary. I hate to say this as a Michigan fan, but Ohio State is really, really good.
Wes getting yelled at.
Uh-oh.
Wes is in trouble.
What do you think, Brent?
I think Oregon's tough. I think they're a hard team to defend, but I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna say Oregon, but I've got them playing Miami, Florida. I do have Oregon winning it, but I have them playing Miami, Florida because Miami's quarterback has been there, done that. And I think that is very important. I think they are so good at every position. I think Mario Cristobal has got his team, his guys in there, and I think he's turned that program around, and I think they play in it, and I think Oregon wins it just because Dan Lanning is a phenomenal coach that I don't know why people don't talk more about him. He is phenomenal.
I know we talked about ACC, and again, I wasn't trying to sell it earlier, being a better conference, but please understand what that means in context. But Miami has left to play Florida, Florida State, Louisville, and then after that, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt.
Easy wins.
So there's a way there, undefeated.
Yeah, easy wins.
For certain. The SEC is just so good. The Big Ten is so good. The Big Ten is so top heavy this year.
See, so
With Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, we'll see who that fourth team might be, if there is one. Probably Illinois. They're probably that fourth team, but also very, very top heavy. Same with the SEC. I hate to all be in agreement here, but I just think nobody's talking about Oregon. They're just going to go about their business. I actually see them. Wouldn't like a Oregon versus Ohio State or Penn State. You're probably gonna get to see that beforehand in the Big Ten championship game.
I like Miami of Ohio, man.
So,
Or Miami of Ohio. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
I think they're legit. I know I just crapped on the ACC, but Miami, Florida is really good. But if I had to give you my 4, it would be them 2, Oregon winning it. Then I got to throw Georgia in there. Whew, that's tough. Go Georgia.
The unknown is who gets hurt, who trips. The good thing now is with the 12-team playoff, there's a little more room for error than there ever has been.
Yeah.
There's just so much unknown, but we're talking as things stand now.
I would have to go Ohio State, even though I don't want to. So
I think it's Ohio State.
So I would have Oregon beating Miami national championship. I'd have Georgia and Ohio State. That's my 4. That's my top 4 teams.
Hard to disagree. We good?
Yeah, thank you for exploding my computer for when I export this tomorrow morning. So that's nice.
What do you say?
Thank you for exploding my computer so when I export this tomorrow, it's over 2-hour video.
Oh. Okay. Had fun, guys. Thank you.
Yep. All right, guys. Love y'all. We'll see you.
Yeah, bye. Take care.